Hi, Larry. Did you know that 155 million people make up the U.S. labor force? And did you know that 143 million of them are employed? And that leaves 12 million unemployed. And that's the 7.8 number that Washington announced the other day. But did you know that 3,700,000 open jobs exist? And did you know that if you filled all of those vacant jobs, that unemployment would be only 5.4% and the national dialogue would be totally changed? What's the problem? What the problem is not a simple discussion, but it's what we want to talk about today. We've broken our presentation into three parts. First is how to think correctly about human capital management, recruiting included. Second is how to get all of your vacant positions filled with people that you'll be happy to have a year from now, from the boardroom to the factory floor. And the last is how to manage your people so they do what you need them to do. My name is John Wentworth. I'm with Wentworth Recruiting. This is Larry Cabalden. He's with the Boardroom Performance folks. Our presentation today is Next Practices Rational Talent Acquisition and Management. As you walked in this morning, you were accosted by someone who asked you to rate how you feel about your sales department, accounting, manufacturing, HR, and recruiting department. And here are the scores that you gave them. And then here, Larry, of course, we would just discuss the actual scores that this group gave us and spin it in our way. And then, Larry, I would urge that at this point you talk about what they would do, the audience would do, if the numbers that they were getting from accounting were disorganized or inaccurate, or if the marketing department was underperforming. And they would not probably sit around taking that lightly, but they would go do something about it, yell, scream, jump up and down, etc. And then I would think that you might then turn this to the HR and recruiting and ask, if you're so unhappy with it as your numbers suggest, why are you not doing something about this? So the first step is to think about recruiting correctly. And this has to do with analysis. Recruiting has been thought of for years as something that is sort of beneath analysis. It's so simple, anybody knows how to do it. That's really not so. And I'd like to give you three examples to indicate to you why certain types of recruiting don't work, and we'll do an analysis of the underlying structure. I was the director of human resources at one point, many, many years ago, at Carte Blanche credit card company, when there still was one. And here, Larry, you've heard these stories, so there's no need for me to go through them again. But tell the story about Carte Blanche, about the contingency agency, and about retained search. And then make the point that money in all three cases motivates the wrong behavior. There's no punishment. In fact, there's rewards for the wrong behavior. And that in the contingency situation particularly, it's a very inefficient system, and that accounts for it being so expensive. And then I would suggest that you talk again and talk about how the staffing of boards and C-suites is frequently done incorrectly, and that people are looking at the wrong thing or not measuring or whatever your perceptions are. So, Larry, I've identified 9 obstacles to filling a job. And I thought, in the spirit of interactivity, we just let the audience pick whichever one they want. And I can set up a PowerPoint in such a way that we can just jump from one to the next to the next to the next, and then I've got supplemental information, so additional slides behind each one of these rectangles. So, but I can't do it in that flexible way for this little demo for you. So I'm just going to talk through all 9 real quick. Then the next slide after this is going to be the obstacles to institutionalizing this, filling all of your jobs and institutionalizing a quantitatively based management system, including performance evaluation, all the stuff that you and I have been talking about. So we can do exactly the same thing there, and we'll get to that in 9 obstacles. So, madam, in the first row, you say that you're in a new industry and you're doing some trailblazing, and you're not sure that that anybody exists in the labor market who does what you want someone to do. Find out before you recruit. The pain associated with doing a full recruiting cycle only to discover that there's no one there whom you like is a very distinct and extremely unpleasant kind of pain. So you need to find someone who's reliable to survey the labor market. That you would think would be your recruiter. If you structure the requirements into quantifiable blocks and then find the people that you want, or if your recruiter does this, and then your recruiter quantifies their skills and experiences, etc., you can come up with a diagram that looks like this. Candidates are in the columns, the requirements are in the rows, and you can see that the very best candidate is on the far left, and even that person is missing on 4 important dimensions. And by the time you get 3 or 4 over, we get over to candidate number 5, dark green is more than what you want. Green is what you want, and red is less than what you want. You get to candidate number 5, you see the candidate number 5 has probably barely half of the things that you want. So if you find this out after you've done a whole lot of recruiting work, it's going to be something that makes everybody pretty irritated and probably wastes some money and certainly wastes a lot of time. This is an exercise that can be done by an analytical sort of person, and it can be done relatively quickly, and it can be done relatively inexpensively. So you, sir, in the second row, you say that you know what you want, and you know it exists, but you don't know if you can afford this combinations of skills and experiences. As before, find out before you recruit. It's really irritating to do a full recruiting cycle only to discover that you can't afford the people that you want. So you get someone reliable to for your position, etc., and you plot their performance across the horizontal axis. So if you want someone who is going to perform at a 3.5 level, and you only want to pay $75,000, you're out of luck. There are no dots there. You're going to have to pay, either choke it back down to about a 2.75 level, or go up and pay $120 or so thousand. So the point of these analytic tools is that they not only describe accurately the labor market with which you're engaged, but also point you to reasonable alternatives if you cannot have what it was that you wanted initially. You, ma'am, in the fifth row, you said that that you know what you want, that you know that person exists, you know you can afford them, but you're not sure if those candidates want to work for you or not. The way you remove this obstacle is to ask candidates what they want from the job. It's best to do it before you start the search. You also, of course, in the course of doing that, identify a bunch of people who may very well turn into candidates. But you can do it as you recruit as well. But you need to know what they want and then compare that to what you offer. It's the only way of knowing ahead of time whether or not people are going to want to work for you. And then Larry, I'll tell the story about Herbalife looking for research scientists from Big Pharma, thinking that they couldn't get them, and then discovering that they in fact have everything that those people wanted. Laid us off. Went out and did their own recruiting. It was very easy once they understood that they had what the folks they wanted. You, sir, in the 15th row, you say that your recruiter does not understand what it is that you want from your open position. The solution to this problem is to structure your requirements into quantifiable blocks. This is what quantifiable blocks look like. Single event, behavioral, measurable, scaled on the 1 through 5 scale. Very simple, very clear, very straightforward. If after your recruiter has to ask all of the questions in order to do this, which is not a short process, if they still don't understand the job, if what they've written down and given back to you for your review is not accurate, there's really only one solution, and that's to get a better recruiter. These recruiters are your talent scouts. They're the folks who are out there attracting and drawing in and screening the people who are going to be doing your work for you. Why it is that over the years so many recruiters have been sort of young, inexperienced folks. It's just a mystery to me. The recruiters that we have at the Wentworth Company, my front line is 3 former vice president of HR, a former director of HR, 2 PhDs, and a lawyer. We think that to do this correctly, to assess a wide range of individuals from boardroom to factory floor, it takes a fairly senior person with some significant experience, some serious smarts, and enough gravitas to be able to relate to the individual as well. Director or vice president level recruiters are more expensive, but you will get your money back multi-times in reduced turnover, in avoidance of paying agency fees, in the efficiency of the recruiting process, and the quality of the people, the kind of work that they do. You'll get a reward again and again and again. Yes, madam, in the 12th row, you said that your recruiter does understand what it is that you're looking for, but can't find that person. Finding people is not rocket science. It just takes seeing relationships and exerting effort. So if your recruiter cannot find highly qualified candidates, get one who can. So they appear to understand what you want. They can find people, but their evaluation of and their description of your candidates is inadequate. That's what you just said, sir, in the 3rd row. Is that correct? Yes, sir. There's a solution to that problem as well. Structure the requirements in quantifiable blocks. Quantify the candidate's skills and experience. This is one way of reporting these. The idea is that if you force recruiters into this sort of discipline about the evaluation of candidates, you will know very clearly whether the evaluations are accurate or not. This is the same sort of methodology, but pushed out to communicating the profiles of a pool of candidates. If you put all that structure on it and you spend all that time making sure they understand what the job is, and they go and they find folks and they interview them and they come back and misdescribe them, get a better recruiter. The young woman in the third row, you said that your recruiters cannot find enough candidates. It's a common problem. Finding candidates is just hard work and pattern recognition. Get a better recruiter. I've said that many times in this presentation, and I am absolutely dead serious. The pool of people, the way folks become recruiters and this has been true for 30 years in the companies that I've known, is they decided to go into HR because they like people. They think HR is a good place to go. And some of them are very successful. They're great at employee relations, they're great at compensation, they're great at benefits, they're great in labor, they're great in safety, they're great in all these various aspects of human resources. Others are not. Frequently, they're the ones who are given to recruiting. Again, why this occurs is a great mystery to me. There are a lot of really bad recruiters in this world. If you have one, get rid of them, get another one. You, sir, in the 12th row, you say that your recruiter does not convey the status of the search that he or she is working on for you. Well, lack of transparency frequently means that the recruiter is hiding something or that they're lazy. If you need sales volume reports from your sales administration department and they don't give them to you on time, or they're sloppy or they're inaccurate, you raise holy heck, I'm sure. You will not put up with that. If you live and die off of the financial reports of the company that you work for and those reports are inaccurate or sloppy or something, you raise holy heck, I'm sure. Same thing should be true with the management of your recruiting processes. Your recruiter should be telling you exactly what they're doing, what they're going to do, what they have done, were they on time, were they not on time, how much it's costing you, how many candidates they have, whether they're good or bad. It should be a highly interactive partnership between you and your recruiter. If it's not, chances are the recruiter is either lazy or hiding. Some just simply have never been exposed to the demands of a high degree of transparency. Then you can work with them and get them to do what they're supposed to do. But many others, you got to get a better recruiter. Here's an example of some reporting. I don't want to dwell on it because it's awfully tactical, but I'm happy to chat with anybody who wants to talk about reporting. It's kind of a fanaticism of mine. Every report needs to tell a story, and the story needs to be meaningful to you. And you, sir, in the first row, you say that you're not sure exactly why, but your recruiter just cannot get candidates hired. Well, recruiting's a process, and if you don't drive the process and overcome the obstacles, it won't get done. If your recruiter does not do this, it will not get done. Recruiters don't do it because they don't know how, they aren't capable, or they're just not interested in pushing that hard. Doesn't matter which step they fall down on, any one of the steps can derail the process. And it's not a simple process. This is a graphic I made probably 29 years ago, to explain to myself and to others what the recruiting process looked like. It's actually more complicated than this, but you can see that there are plenty of opportunities for the process to fall apart, and your recruiter has to be vigilant and make sure that every one of the steps on the screen gets done on time, gets done well. So those are the obstacles and the way of resolving the obstacles, eliminating the obstacles to getting a job done. But there's more to that to get that unemployment down to 5.4%. First of all, you need to get all of your jobs filled, And then second of all, once you have those people on board, you need to manage them in such a way that they give you what you want and they want to stay. We are of a particular point of view about this. I'm sure that comes as a great surprise. And that is that quantification helps that both of those processes tremendously, but that the obstacles to putting a quantification oriented management system in place are organizational. They reveal clear quantification, clear reporting of relevant data, reveals many things that some people might not want revealed. So the obstacles are typically organizational obstacles, not technical or tactical obstacles as the prior set were. So Larry Cabaldon was going to talk you through these and point out some of the strategies that you can use organizationally to get all of your jobs filled and to get a rational next practices management schema in place. Larry.